Hey guys, it's Carolyn. Obviously, for some reason, I filmed my December wrap-up, but then when I went to upload it, it was like, oh, just kidding, this is not cool. And I was like, wait, why? It's not even that long. Because it was only like 7 minutes long, and for some reason YouTube was like, no, can't upload. And I'm like, alright, fine, be mean. But because of that, I really didn't feel like gathering up all of the books again to show you guys, so I'm just going to kind of talk about them really quickly, and, yeah, I'm sorry, it's going to be not as elaborate as usual. But anyway, the first book I read in December was Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. This was a reread for me. And I love it so much. I think I'm going to end up making it a permanent reread every year at Christmas because it's just so, the stories blend together so well and the individual stories are great by themselves. And it makes me feel all warm inside at Christmas, which is great. So yeah, loved it. And then I read The Christmas Tragedy, which is a Miss Marple short story by Agatha Christie. And I have to say, I was a bit disappointed with this one. It's not that I didn't like it, that's not true, but I definitely didn't like it as well as the others. Because what they did with this one, usually she has this really good formula of you think it's one person who does the murder, but at the end it turns out to be this completely off-the-wall person who you would never expect, who has this, crazy motive where you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And this one was, it was Miss Marple telling the story, and she was like, oh, this guy, everybody thought that this guy killed his wife, but he ended up proving that he didn't kill his wife. But at the end, it was like, but wait, he actually did. He was just able to he was able to create an alibi somehow where he didn't get committed for it, or not committed, he didn't get arrested for it, but, he convicted, that's the word, convicted. He didn't get convicted, but he still did it. And I was just like, that's stupid. What? So yeah, I did enjoy it, but it just wasn't nearly as creative to me. Yeah. I don't know. But I am enjoying that book of short stories overall, so that's good. But I do need to go ahead and finish it. I'm a little over halfway through. I think I have 7 or 8 more stories to go. And then I read 2 American Girl Christmas stories, Addie's Surprise and Molly's Surprise. And I reread the American Girl Christmas books every Christmas since I was probably 10. It's a thing. I love it. But this year I waited too long, and I was trying to read all of them on Christmas afternoon, and I just ended up running out of time because we had other Christmas stuff to do. So I just ended up getting to those 2, but I do really enjoy those. And the good thing is those are the 2 that I'm not least familiar with, but those are the 2 that I've definitely read the least. So I kind of felt really good that those were the ones I read, because the others I have memorized so much in my head that I still like rereading them, but I don't actually need to reread them to remember the story. And with Molly and Addie's stories, I remember the gist, but I don't remember the detail, so that was fun to reread those. And then I read Gift of the Magi by O. Henry, and I have this whole collection of, it's called Gift of the Magi and Other Stories, so it's 100 pages of little Christmas-related stories, and I think some non-Christmas-related as well, that he wrote between 1907 and 1912 or something like that. And I ended up only getting to Gift of the Magi, but I really enjoyed it because it was, I've watched a bunch of the adaptations and stuff of Gift of the Magi, like television and movie adaptations, since I was young, and I really loved them. But reading the actual story was just, it was so great to see how it originated and everything, because then, like, I was kind of comparing, like, oh, Della is this person in this, and this person in this, and here's what she gives up in this, and here's what she gives up in this, and it's just, and same with, Jim. So, yeah, it was lovely, and I highly recommend it to anyone, especially because it has a really good lesson in it, which, I mean, it teaches you about, like, love and, like, sacrifice for love and all that. It's fantastic. And lastly, I read Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by David Levithan and Rachel Cohn. And I'm going to say 3.5 out of 5. I felt like I was going to be disappointed just because of all the hype, and usually when a book is hyped that much, it's very rare that I love it as much as everyone else. Sometimes I do, like, I mean, with Fangirl. Yeah. But anyway, but with this, like, I loved David Levithan's writing and Rachel Cohn's writing. Both of their writing styles were great, and I loved especially David Levithan's writing where Dash was concerned, because Dash has this thing about words, and David Levithan just brings that across really well. Like, I loved it. But the two things that I loved Lily, and I loved her family and all the secondary characters. But the two things I didn't like were, in the very beginning, I did not like Dash, because I thought he was cynical and kind of, like, a little too hipster, a little too, like, kind of like he wanted to be different to the point of he was the same, if that makes sense. Like, a bunch of people, some people kind of want to set themselves apart, but they do it to such an extreme point that it actually blends them in with everyone else. Again, it's like, you know, making a 360, I guess, I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, like, I didn't like his character in the beginning. But then he ended up I ended up liking him more, because you kind of, in the beginning, you just see his surface, and then, like, as the book goes on, you kind of get deeper into his character, and I did end up liking him more at the end. And the other thing I really didn't like, though, is that, for those of you who, like, anybody who has read the back of the book, even if you haven't read the book, you know that Dash and Lily, how they communicate is through Lily's red notebook of dares that she leaves in the Strand bookstore that Dash picks up. Not spoiling anything, it's on the back of the book. But because they do this, they kind of get very specific ideas about the other person in their head, and, like, through their writing, I guess, and it's just completely different from how the other person actually is. And so basically they create these ideas in their head that they fully admit to falling in love with. Like, both of them say that they feel like they're falling in love with the other person, but then when they talk about their imaginings of the other person, it's completely different than the way the other person actually is. And granted, they do fix this at the end. They do admit, hey, it was a really bad idea for us to have preconceived notions about the other person. But it really bothered me while it was actually occurring. Like, when one of them would think, oh, this is how I feel, or this is what I feel like the other person is like, I would actually, like, hit the book on the surface that I was reading on. Like, if it was my couch or my bed, I would just be like, no, that's not what's going on. And it just bugged me. Like, I don't know. But everything ended up being cool in the end. Like, I just really ended up, I loved the writing, I loved all the characters, including Dash at the end, which was good. But I had to give it overall, I did really enjoy it. So yeah, that was my December wrap-up. I'm sorry it ended up being kind of longer than I thought, but I like to go into detail about my reviews. So, about what I think, which, I mean, it's the point, right, of these videos. But yeah, so that was my December wrap-up, and January TBR will be up. I had already filmed that when I originally filmed this video, so that'll be up pretty quickly after this one's posted. And I will see you guys later. Happy New Year. Bye.